Hello guys, welcome to the next video. Now we're going to create or we're going to start with the mobile app. I'm going to use Visual Studio Code for this. I highly recommend you using either Visual Studio Code or IntelliJ IDEA because these editors have an extension called Flutter, and it's a really powerful extension. It helps you debug, it helps you a lot. So that's why even if you like Atom, or anything, or Sublime, I think only IntelliJ and Visual Studio Code have like official extensions for Flutter. So I highly recommend you using either of those because it helps you a lot. So what we're gonna do is we're going to do open folder. So here we have the project. So we're going to open the mobile app. I'm gonna select that folder, and it's I want it to be so. I have an emulator here to run the project. If you're on Windows, or I actually recommend you using a physical device because it's faster and you can really interact with the app. But I'm gonna use an emulator so you can see on the screen as well. I can mirror my screen to the computer, but it's better like this. It's easier for me to show. So I have an emulator. If you are on a Mac, I actually recommend using the iOS simulator instead of the Android emulator, because the Android emulator is a lot slower. iOS simulator is actually really fast. So if you're on I recommend physical device, but otherwise Android emulator on Windows, iOS simulator on Mac. That's basically a recommendation. So with that being said, now I'm going to go through like the files, because it's important to know what the files do. First of all, we have the Android folder. This Android folder basically is a boilerplate folder for an Android project. It's basically this. It will basically, the Flutter project is a Flutter project. When we export or when we build the Flutter project, it will export the Flutter project to both an Android project and an iOS project. So you can actually kind of open the generated Android project in like Android Studio things. So this is the boilerplate project. You have like app, you have the basic, you have the Android manifest, you have a main activity, you have everything like that, like a basic Android project that it will use this project to generate a real project. So if you need to change anything in the Android manifest, you can do it here. If you want to add permissions and things, so you can do it here, or add like label here. I can actually do here. I'm gonna change to mobile app instead. You can do everything like that inside here if you want to change anything regarding the Android app, the base app. Same thing with iOS. You have like let's see, you have the info plist, for example, add permissions and things. Same thing there. Lib is actually the folder where all of its library, it's the folder where all of our project files will be, our source code basically. Test is a folder or a directory, so to speak, where our test files are. If you have never heard of test cases, it's basically that you create tests to test if your code works. If you create a function that, for example, generates something, and you want to make sure that it works, you create a couple of test cases, and like you say, okay, run this function with these parameters and it should return this. For example, you call math.add 3 and 5. It should return 8. If it doesn't, it will loudly say, oh, this test case did not work. Something is wrong with this function. That's basically how test cases work. You test your code if it works. Git ignore. It's if you basically have version control Git which files to ignore. It's already here. We're not gonna use it. Metadata packages, it's like auto-generated files. It's just metadata and things. You don't need to worry about that. Mobile app, Android, mobile app. It's, yeah, I mean, it's basically options file, config file for, you see here, you have like the source folder for test, library. You have basically, it's Android things. You don't need to, like, this isn't, I don't think we're gonna use this for anything in this series. So it's just a configuration file for the Java app. And pubspec lock file, it's a lock file. We're not going to do anything in this because it's generated. But what we're going to do is the pubspec. This lock is generated by the pubspec YAML. YAML, this is the config file of the project, of the whole Flutter project. Not the Android project, not the iOS project, but the Flutter project. But I mean, of course, it affects both the Android and iOS projects. But I mean, yeah, it's the main configuration file. So you have here, for example, name, mobile app, description. I'm actually mobile app. I'm gonna call it like that. I guess that works. No, that's actually should be just one word. So you have to have underscores. I thought it was a display name, but it's not. Description and name. You have the version, environment, and the dependencies. So the dependencies we're actually going to use a lot, because when we want to add like libraries, external libraries, we're going to add them here. As you can see, we have two dependencies. We have the Flutter dependency, we have the Cupertino icons, and it's basically a Cupertino. Okay, it's iOS style icons basically. It's icons. So we have two dependencies now. These are packages as called, and dev dependency. Down here in Flutter, this is basically specific to Flutter as it says here. It's assets, for example. Gonna import those later. And README is basically a README file for, if you have, for example, for Git, GitHub or anything, or Git or version control. I'm gonna change this to mobile app. I don't have a name for it, so so that's basically the whole folder structure. In the next video, I thought we were going to start with it now, but it's gone almost 8 minutes and I don't want to start with the project now. So in the next video, we're going to start actually doing something. We're gonna programming the app. Thank you for watching this video. See you in the next.